like a drag racing out of Bangalore drag circuit.
Okay.
Our cars were busted. Like somebody fouled with our car. We couldn't even. My car didn't even start at the racetrack. From a perfectly tuned car to have not started because somebody thought it was a competition to his car. Was the fuel or was the brake line been broken? Things like that.
But so again, on that only, I mean, you're sure that somebody had tampered with it?
From a running car to my house in Indiranagar to a racetrack, she could run fine and not start at the racetrack. I'm assuming, and then obviously you go back to scrutinize, understand what happened.
Yeah.
It had to be flatbedded. In the garage, you go back to figure this was fingered. My journey from here that I travel to work is 27 kilometers. The day I take my Zen, the day I would take my Gypsy. None of these cars have suspensions. My Gypsy is absolutely not even a car in the current definition of cars. No power window, no power steering. Suspensions are पाटा वाले suspensions हैं. इसमें ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं जो आज के cars में है. But I have been stopped, raised a thumb, and it could be an old uncle versus a cool kid. They like stop me to take a, and that itself tells me कि boss, this exists. It's just that not many people are talking about these cars, and not many people are cherishing these cars. In as many events that I've participated, Aradhya, so you've been stopped by an FMSCI guy for a nonsense reason. I understand they stop you for safety, security, but I don't get the language that they speak to you.
Like what?
That guy will probably disrespect you. Hey, ये नहीं चलने वाला है. Where is your this? Boss, we are the one who make the sports, right? You are supposed to be an enabler, not a disabler.
So I think one thing that excited me was that Zen of yours that's standing, because that car tells a lot about you, which you're clearly not explaining probably in the right words. So tell me more about that one. What's the story behind that Zen?
Look, being a racer and I think being an automobile enthusiast, you'll always have that fond memory of your first car.
Okay.
And I think something that was bought by my own money, and that'll always be special by all means.
Okay.
And with about 11 to 12 cars in my garage, Zen holds the most special place. Obviously, first car bought by own money and have had a lakh kilometer done on it. So imagine the amount of memories. On top of it, that car till date, after what, 15-20 years, continues to run the way she ran the very first day I must have bought.
Really?
I may have maintained it, you call it whatever, but that's my love for it. And I think once in a week, as I have to drive that car, life feels incomplete without it. Otherwise, but the bigger aspect is that I think it tells me where my journey really started from. Okay. It allows me to stay humble and grounded. To say, boss, this is where you started. You may have probably 11 more other cars, but yeah, I mean, this is where it all started from. So I think that's how I connect with it, and I think with so much memory, so many races that I may have won in that car, makes it all the more special. Yeah.
Okay. So tell me one thing, a quick comparison, because clearly, if you are fond of this kind of a car, which you did mention off camera also, you are one of those purists. I would like to label you to be. So, can I say that you are a man with one of the favorite eras to be, who has this particular era to be your favorite cars? Or probably
You said
not
it.
favorite, but probably the cars that you connect with, like between the 1990s and 2000s.
Rather, you said something as favorite, you chose that word, and era. Yes, and I think I probably want to rephrase it to make it as a golden era of motorsports.
Okay.
I don't know what was so different about it, but there were E-Zens, B-Zens, the Balenos were modded, the Honda VTECs were the thing of everybody who's of my age or probably a generation above me would relate to this car. These are our heroes. To own them back in the days was like, boss, having the Rolls Royce of those days. But I think the motorsport died in certain way in India then. The guys pulled back. I think because they were fighting. Maybe life have happened to them, or they're probably fighting their own challenge because the event didn't happen. So there was this certain lull that happened during those time, or it could also mean that there were so many fascinating cars that came in. People want to say them fascinating. For me, they were really didn't have that manly thing in them. For us, it's really miss out on something. They may be very comfortable, great on mileage, great value for money, but they were not as hard as these cars that were meant as heroes for us.
Okay.
To that matter, even Gypsy adds on to that list, and I own them. I own a Baleno as well. These are the cars that inspired me back in those days, and I continue to own them and cherish them more importantly.
Okay.
But the reason that is there in my mind, and it's just me who's feeling this. The generation that was me who celebrated these cars, and with motorsport event not happening in that era, somewhere people just forgot about these cars.
Okay.
And I think now that, and I think in my attempt also in my underground, I entertain these cars. Like 50% of my population are these old era big daddies which made the cars look what the cars were back in the days. So I think somewhere in my attempt, in every forum that I've spoken in underground that I've done, I've really had these cars being brought back to life. That I think is something that I'm bringing back to the community, and I think that's also doing a lot of good, because these are really cheap cars.
Yeah.
These are really reliable cars. These are really great with mileage, and parts are really available. That's where your journey should start. And this is where it's been tested, the test of the water. People have done whatnot. We've had these cars doing the fastest of the quarter mile. We have these cars doing the fastest of the autocross. We have tested them in gravel and done whatnot. So somebody who's tried and tested is sitting there as a daddy. Might as well bring them back to life and cherish them. And I think that's what I think it makes underground is special for me, because I see every underground there are certain cars that have been brought back to life.
Yeah.
Like there was this one such car that came in back to life was 118 NE.
Oh yeah.
The car is special in
Padmini.
so many ways. Padmini. The car in Japan is cherished like a legend. Somebody brought it back to life, put a Baleno engine in it with a Gypsy whole shaft in it. It's a rear wheel drive now, and guy drifts like nobody's business. So we've encouraged him. We've pushed him to make that car, to bring it to whatever it's supposed to be. We introduced and revealed it in underground, and car today is a viral material. And I'm assuming that car is inspiring 10 other such people who want to go back and build their own stories like that. And I'm so glad that he chose and trusted us in our instincts to modify and put his effort in that car. Now wherever whichever car that is, the car shows that a car shows up, it's definitely been captured and a lot of eyeballs. And I think he's getting a great reviews about the car. People are applauding and appreciating such car, and in turn making many other car enthusiasts in that pattern.
Also, I think just to add to what you're saying, when you look at cars from this era, and even in times to come, when people like you and me, when we will look at cars from this era, and then immediately after that we'll look at cars from current era, let's say 2024, 25, you don't need to drive cars from 24, 25. I mean, they are practically driving by their own selves. These cars, you had to drive them.
Yeah, look, I mean, I consciously made an effort. They're not as manly as these cars.
Sure.
They somewhere, like a lot of people hate me for this, but yeah, I mean, like I said, they may be complete value for money compared to these cars, but if you're a car guy, and especially if you're from my era, you know what I'm talking, you'll be able to relate. These cars are what made men for whatever they know. The legends were known because they did wonders with these cars.
And I think even men and women both, and for that matter, I mean, just driving, you had to make an effort to drive these machines. You had to make an effort to stop these machines. I mean, heel and toe braking. Who's going to remember heel and toe after some time from today?
A lot many things I think is scarier, and that's the reason why an added pressure on underground.
Yeah.
Like you just said, a lot many things will be forgotten, which has already damages happened.
Yeah.
But I think it's on to you and me, who probably maybe your means of spreading through podcasts, my means of maybe trying to do a couple of events, or trying to do some underground event where people show up, where we talk and celebrate these cars. There are build stories that we've started since last year. Like if people are building certain cars, we like to show them what are the challenges, what they built, and how it really turned out to be, just to inspire the generation. And believe you me, like in my crew, like we mentioned, there are about 40 to 80 people. The age group is below 25.
Okay.
And they're all inspired a lot, and they all cherish these cars. So somewhere I think part of the fault is also to our generation, where we've not spoken and celebrated these cars as much as we should have. That's the reason why they're a forgotten story right now.
Okay. Interesting. And talk to me about a little bit about. I mean, walk me through these cars because this is one machine which I've only seen on camera. So today I'm seeing it for the first time in real life. What's the story behind these machines?
Another very
yeah.
interesting story. We've had certain people. Look, I mean, we cherished what Sanam did as drifting. We socialized that idea. We said we went back and spoke to people that we look forward to, and it said, Jeet, look, high aspirational dream doesn't look like it's very practical. Just drop the idea here. You'll probably end up wasting a lot of money. And I think somewhere it really hit my ego. I'm not really the guy who would probably take things on ego. It's like, yeah, I see a practical aspect of making this possible a sport in India. And why, and countries like countries who are not doing it as established as us are celebrating these cars and doing drifting. Why are we depriving ourselves from such a beautiful sport? Let's give it a try. And I think that kind of motivated me in a different sense. And then I said, okay, booking the ticket, next flight to Thailand, understand what do they do differently, taking Sanam along from his busy schedule. He volunteered to be with our support. We pulled Sanam's mechanic out, who's fantastic again with his technical aspects of it. We bought a couple of cars while we were in Thailand. We said we want to make this happen. So yes, I think
You bought cars from there, okay?
No. So we bought cars there to drift and understand what does it really take to.
Oh, okay.
So as we speak, there is a car that sits which is owned by us.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you see outside, is a Nissan Safiro, which is what we bought in Thailand as well.
The pickup truck you're talking about?
The one that is covered in plastic is
I didn't see
a project car, which we're trying to bring it live for the 10th edition. So imagine the build alone is going to take about a year. We're trying to attempt to make it one of the fastest cars in India. So this is the car that we bought and we drifted and we got certified in Thailand as well. But we said, yeah, I mean, somebody challenged us and there is all possibilities that we can make this sport happen. So what you see here is a fully drift built car that's sitting right here. It's a C200 manual drive.
Okay.
I love this car as much that my daily driver that you see here is a stage 2 manual C200.
Petrol.
This I drive on the track, which is
Okay.
a diff
track.
locked
Okay.
and drifts. That is just not drift. That's not a diff lock,
Okay.
but is my daily driver. I love
Okay.
this car again. Or manual Mercedes rear wheel drive is something else.
Hmm.
You gotta experience it once to see why am I saying what am I saying.
Okay.
Then I said, boss, whatever cars available which is manual C200, we have to buy it. So we got about 8 cars that is sitting with us. So the idea was obviously to not give it to friends then. And obviously when I say give it to friends, I'll ask them to buy it off because we want to enjoy this community of drifting.
Okay.
So as we speak, out of the 8 cars, 4 cars are with my friends.
Oh, wow.
So one's from Bombay, a couple of them from Pune. So when we announce a drift track day, which is not known to public, happens on one weekend in a month.
Okay.
So next one is lined up next Saturday, coming Saturday. So we will be about 6 cars in a drift track, drifting away to glory.
So
Never heard.
you bought 8 of them.
Yeah, we bought initially 8 of them, and to build it and to hand it over to friends.
Okay.
Out of which 2 cars are scrapped now. They are donor cars. We
Okay.
burnt our hands. We busted our engine to understand what is it that we can do right. So obviously you got to make the cars lighter. We got to have a bigger pulley for the supercharger.
Yeah.
We're talking about a diff lock. We're talking about a handbrake with brakes all the way going out to the rear.
Yeah.
Just locking the rear. Then we're talking about
वो brakes अभी pending है इसके अंदर आप बता रहे थे.
brakes are done, the lines are done. The handbrake mechanism, I think we are struggling with it, which we've been able to get a breakthrough on it.
Okay. Okay.
Then you're talking about an ECM which is drift tune, specially done from Thailand. You
Okay.
understand? Yeah, I mean there's the power boost. So
Okay.
the bigger turbo and multiple such mods that we've
Okay.
looked at to make it what she is. Now I can drift for 2 hours and not stop and still have a lot of fun. The car won't heat up. I may just drop by to change my tires, which happens in every 15 minutes.
Oh yeah.
But 15 minutes of track day drifting, come back to change my tire and get back to the track again. I can do this for 2 hours and not have any problems in the car. And imagine 6 people along with me in a track in Pune are doing this for last 6 months. How much fun would that mean? Same amount of training I did it in Thailand, not my car.
Okay.
Obviously they did everything for a track day, car, fuel, and all the expenses costed me about 1.75 lakhs, which I am trying to do once in every month at my own cost. It's relatively much cheaper but the fun is literally the same.
So tell me one thing. I mean, there are a lot of people, budding drifters, who would want to get into the world of drifting, and also assuming that in the drifting scene, which is just starting in India, I'm observing that two cars people are really going in for. One is the 3 Series, probably the older Gen 3 Series, not the
Correct.
new one, and the C Class, the old Gen C Class, because both are rear wheel drives, 2-liter engines, and probably not 2-liter both of them. But so if one person is to get into the world of drifting, what kind of money minimum that person needs to spend in order to create a drift build, including the car's cost?
Yeah.
Can you just sort of break it down for me?
Yeah, so I mean, some background on it. So we are also known as off-duty driver.
Okay.
That's also a school.
Okay.
But do we train everybody? Maybe no. You have the money, you want to get trained with us? Answer is no. So we'll probably check if Aradhya wants to come and train with us. We'll check on Aradhya how genuinely he wants to do drifting and is he really a car enthusiast. Then probably it'll be a conversation between us and we'll be able to connect more. So I'm more interested in you as a person and not anything otherwise around you. I'll have you over, get trained in my car,
Okay.
and I'll encourage Aradhya, saying if you enjoy drifting, so first session for you will be to come and experience drifting as a co-driver with me, free of cost. We don't
बट
charge
आप ऐसे रैंडमली किसी को अगर है कि भी ठीक है मेरे पास पैसे हैं मैं ड्रिफ्ट कर सकता हूँ
प्रोफाइल चेक ही होगा because see I mean these cars were only 200 in India. बची कुछ ही cars बची हैं उसमें parts नहीं मिलते.
ओके
So just because Aradhya had the money and want to come and blow it on my car, you may have a good track day. I may have done everything to make you happy. At the end of it, I'm sitting with a car which is busted and it's Mercedes. It's not easy to maintain. So I like you to still value and probably at the cost of breaking my car, I'll still want you to become a drifter or at least I know at least one more person who's a car enthusiast is added to the community.
Okay.
Done my job. Two of this, if even one has taken the box, my job's done.
Okay.
So I'll enroll you as a student. We've done about 8 batches already.
Okay.
Two person per batch. Once in a month, one track day is what we do to train people. Only if we are able to connect with him as an enthusiast. We encourage you to, if you want to take your journey ahead, we encourage you to send some seat time.
Huh.
Now coming to your question, what's the breakdown? So these cars, because there's a drift school, there's so much been spoken about them as a drift car. All of us are certain where the cars were decently charged at 3.5 lakh rupees is now gone up to 5.5 lakh rupees.
हाँ
Because obviously demand versus
Correct.
supply. Now if you found a good car, luckily if you have, we'll encourage you get a paperwork done because then you'll be roaming with your cars. We better be legally right.
yeah
Then there's a package of about 1.5 lakhs with no margin. That see none of the thing that we do around cars we like to make money. We like to stick with this as passion. That's the reason why the journey has been 20 plus years as passion.
okay
Underground, we don't want to charge anything as such, nor do we want to charge in a next thing which is off-duty driver. So you will have our mechanic come to your house, build it, you buy the spares for him, give him his whatever labor charges, build a car for you and you continue your journey from there. So about 5.5 lakh rupees car and plus 1.5 lakh rupees to build the car, you're about 6 lakh rupees, you're good to start your journey.
okay
That's a fully
bad.
built drift car.
interesting
So we've done cars for people in Kerala. Like we've helped him buy the car. We've sent our mechanic from here with all the spares. He's doing his drifting. Danish is one such guy.
okay
We've had Akshat. We've sent a car from here which is completely drift built. He's had some issues with engine. He's worked his ways through it. Currently drifting.
okay
Likewise, we've had a car in UP that has been so somebody who's already training. We've just built a car and sent it to him.
okay
Couple of them in Bangalore. As we speak, we're building their cars. We've sourced the cars, we're building their cars.
okay
What you're trying to do is spread the sport. We may not have the money to do it in the way a Japanese or an Australian is doing it, but at least by putting this car in his state, he's inspiring 2 more people who may have the money and try and make a track or try and build a complete drift built car, just to encourage and probably inspire more people. We dream of sending this one car at least to each state.
But G, tell me one thing. I mean, whatever you're doing so many things with one core intention about cars and love for cars. how do you manage the finances, man? I mean, is it out of whatever you're making from the work that you're doing as a hustle, or what is it? I mean, how do you do it?
Look, a lot of beating has been taken by my brother.
Because you've got a family to take care of. I mean,
Look, like I said,
I think this
one-
is every guy's concern.
one conscious decision, and I think this is a hard one. How do you sustain this? So by not having babies, I've probably have them as my babies, and you're always, there's never enough that you spend on your babies.
Okay.
And I think I have a godfather as well, which is my brother. Luckily, he's doing very well for himself.
Okay.
And I think then my brother and me, we said, how much do we even shell off his pocket? So I said, while we love so much of cars, why don't we introduce products which are really amazing and probably complement in what we do. One such baby is, like we spoke about, is EVC.
Okay.
So throttle controller is that we've tied up with Australia. They themselves came here. Now that brings us some money.
Okay.
Titan suspension is one such initiative where, as a community contributor, we try and get you the best suspensions
Okay.
for whatever. Like Imran's car is a drag race car. Imagine he's going to run Titan suspensions.
Okay.
Sanam's is a drift car. He's going to run Titan suspensions.
हाँ तो फिर उससे correct that impact comes in.
My Evo
हाँ.
is a street car, drag car, still runs a Titan suspension. So imagine the variety. So we bring them here, we prove their capability, and that's how we make it easy. So you want to start your modification journey, you choose maybe a 330i or a BMW or a Mercedes. Imagine suspension is your biggest cost.
हाँ.
Coilovers is first thing that you look at.
हाँ.
That's half of the cost if I tell you.
Correct.
A journey is, imagine how much money you're left over to do anything else. Like a proper aftermarket seat, like a nice header, free flow. A car's there, like your happy space is ready in half the cost that you thought.
Okay. Interesting. One question which you may choose to not answer also. I'll give you that option.
Okay.
Give me, what was the low? I'm sure there was a extremely low point in your life in this entire journey of about, let's say, 18-20 years in motorsports and in pushing cars as a culture. What was that one extremely low point that you went through and you were like, nahi yaar, nahi ho raha?
Well, not in building that community, and I think out of such situations is where I really decided was it needed to be a better community than what it is right now. And I think that feeling happened to me as and when I raced out of Maharashtra.
Okay.
So every time you step out of your own zone where people know you, you are being treated differently. Your locals are being given more advantage. You're literally being looked up differently. So imagine if I was racing in Karnataka.
Okay.
So obviously there's a community that exists in Karnataka which has been favored. And I am racing because I'm a racing enthusiast or motorsport enthusiast. I'm there to race and compete with anybody else who's racing with me. But ill-treated, if I can choose that word.
Yeah.
Then I said, imagine if I had a community, I knew people there. Like now I know so many of them. Even if I was racing in dirt track or a drag race, I literally know half of the people. I said, how could have I avoided this situation which I had to go through? Because it's racing out of... So one thing is I could have stopped racing out of Maharashtra. For the love of the sport, I wouldn't want to do it as and when I am given opportunity, I want to race.
Okay.
How can I stop from being ill-treated or anybody else? Probably create a community. How can I create a community? Probably have my friends coming over from Karnataka who's into sports, or probably meet them every time I'm there or something. So underground is what such place where an invite goes to everybody that we know is doing good for the community, or is like us, like-minded people. We connect with their vibe. We have them over.
Of course.
Like Dev Venkatesh is into dirt bikes, is out of Bangalore. Whenever we go, we probably want to catch up with him. Danish is in Kerala. Sanam is in Chandigarh. Likewise, Delhi has maybe Mr. Dalal and then Shivek and other such people. Hyderabad, there's a whole lot of community that sits in. Bombay has Imran. Now, whichever part of the country that we go, I know somebody's going to take care of me. I know these are the guys who are going to organize races anyway. So I'm going to be invited. I'm not going to miss out on any of such events. So yes, those situations happened in races where I felt ill-treated, and that's the reason why going a community mattered.
Any one instance you could pick out? I mean, that will be interesting to know actually.
Like a drag racing out of Bangalore drag circuit.
Okay.
Our cars were busted. Like somebody fouled with our car. We couldn't even. My car didn't even start at the racetrack. From a perfectly tuned car to have not started because somebody thought it was a competition to his car. Was the fuel or was the brake line been broken? Things like that.
But
is
so again, on that only, I mean, you're sure that somebody had tampered with it?
from a running car to my house in Indiranagar to a racetrack. She could run fine and not start at the racetrack. I'm assuming, and then obviously you go back to scrutinize, understand what happened.
Yeah.
It had to be flatbedded. In the garage, you go back to figure this was finger.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm assuming, yeah, I mean, assuming it was if it was happening in Maharashtra, never happened, never experienced. So imagine if you spend so much money, gone there, tuned your car, and to have not raced, this is barely for what a quarter mile will last about 13 seconds, 15
Yeah.
seconds.
Max.
We have not even raced that, we spent so much money. Imagine what a bummer that would be.
Big time. Okay. On a lighter note, coming back to your cars now, I saw something interesting in that shed. Is that a Nissan pickup truck? Nissan or what? It's a
Nissan. Yeah.
Which one is it?
So it's a Nissan D21 engine.
Okay.
It's a pickup truck. A pickup truck in Australia and Thailand is very big.
Yeah.
Like I cherish Isuzus, and we've already mentioned there are about 11 of them that
Yeah.
we said in the group.
Yeah.
But pickup trucks started from what you say is a Tata Mobile in back
Yeah.
in the days.
Yeah.
My dad always loved pickup truck. That's how I have Gypsy. That's how I have my Isuzu. And Tata Mobile is where we used to travel to our farm back in the days. And I could relate to this car from that car. And I think Nissan, for the love of the engine, and Aradhya, she's a 1997 car. When on your next visit to Pune, I have to make you sit in the car if you can drive. You will flip in what the suspension has to offer, how refined that carburetor engine till date is. When we had to do a lot to put the car together, source parts from various parts of the world. Thailand is the last consignment that came in, and now she's a complete running car. So she's going to be revealed in underground.
Okay.
So we're trying to make her what a pickup truck should look like. There's a big culture that exists abroad.
Yeah.
That's where I got influence, and I want to have one of my own in India.
Where did you pick this up from?
So this is a rare car that got imported. This is bought for a shoot, I believe, back in Chandigarh. Somebody whom I picked it
Acha.
up from.
Okay.
And that's where I sourced it. It was a very beaten up condition. She did a couple of movies apparently.
Oh.
I don't know why would they use this truck, but it was beaten up. And now she's got all the parts which requires her to run. She's got a functional AC. But some of the parts which are big in size but cheap, I couldn't source them. So I'm trying to rebuild them. But I was totally amazed the way she drives. I love myself to be driving around this car in Pune while she's lowered with some fat wheels, and a petrol 2.4 liter really sounds sweet. And the whole idea of driving an old school car in that old school look blows my mind.
You know, this is why we love cars. The way you start explaining the moment we talk about cars from this era,
Right.
मेरा इतना मन कर रहा था ना to ask you this question कि Apple CarPlay है इसमें because I feel things today, I mean, it's become so much about कि यार गाड़ी अच्छी है but Android Auto नहीं है, Apple CarPlay नहीं है, इसमें
But
wireless charger
Aradhya,
नहीं
to
है.
your surprise, my journey from here that I travel to work is 27 kilometers. The day I take my Zen, the day I would take my Gypsy. None of these cars have suspensions. Gypsy is absolutely not even a car in the current definition of cars. No power window, no power steering. Suspensions are पाटा वाले suspensions हैं. इसमें ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं जो आज के cars में है. But I have been stopped, raised a thumb, and it could be an old uncle versus a cool kid. They like stop me
Oh,
to
yeah.
take a, and that itself tells me कि boss, this exists. It's just that not many people are talking about these cars, and not many people are cherishing these cars. Somewhere, like we spoke about, a generation now doesn't relate to this. But surprisingly, I've had people from that generation stop me, saying, "Bhaiya, nice car. Bhaiya, what a looker. Like, and Bhaiya, what a car that you're driving today." And somewhere, as a car enthusiast, that makes your day. Like, I may be driving these Mercedes, and I think because they're available so easily, but a neatly done up Gypsies, like my Gypsy is bone stock. She's running a header, and that's all that I have done to my car. Otherwise, bone stock. I cherish
Wheels
it.
and everything
Hard
bone
top.
stock.
Yeah, and I mean, she's running a Brazilian wheels,
Acha, okay.
but that's about it.
Okay.
But again, that car, if you were to drive, you'll fall in love with Gypsy all over again. Like a lot of people have modified Gypsies, and I've also come from RFC and all of that.
Yeah.
I've known of
That's
them all
different.
been
हाँ.
lifted.
वो अलग है.
But stock में जो बात है, I am convinced. Like my people around me wants to modify that car. I was like, boss, ये नहीं होगा. And till date, like one day of my week are these cars that I drive, and totally those are my high days of the week. Like Mondays would be a Zen day. Like a Friday, I want to just chill out with my friends. I'll take a gypsy out. Rest of the days, I'm okay to pick up whatever car that I like. But these cars make my day. That's the reason why you have such sophisticated parking for them. Easily pull them out and probably drive it around because I start my day a little early. So आपका sunrise का time होता है. That's where I start my day. Start from my house at 6 o'clock. To get to work is about 7. I have that 1 hour to stop, click a photo of my car, watch a nice sunrise, and I've started enjoying and tripping on these drives in the morning. No traffic. Pune roads are amazing, and driving back is again at a 4 o'clock. It's not a very peak traffic time.
Yeah.
So that again is an amazing time. And I think that a lot of people ask me कि ये car चलाता कब है? I get my highs in that 27 kilometers or 50 kilometers up and fro that I do with my cars. That's
Interesting. One last question before, because I can go on for like hours and hours, but I promise this is the last question. Let's say tomorrow, and I'm asking you this question because you have been in motorsports almost, I would say, last 15 to 20 years. Let's say tomorrow I make you the chief of FMSCI, like one of the decision makers. What would those couple of changes be that you would want to make to make motorsports something that people professionally want to take up in India?
Okay.
It
Again,
could be more than two also.
Again, interesting question. I may have answered this in many forums, and I've offended a lot of people. With all due respect to the federation, some people out there are legends, but some people really out there doesn't know their shit.
Okay.
None of my events are FMSCI events. A lot of people did say you're doing events at a national level. Why would you not want to tie up with FMSCI? Look, I mean, they've done wonderful things for something which is a Pune baby, which is a international supercross that happens,
Okay.
done by a very close friend called Ishan. They've supported him out and out. But in as many events that I've participated, Aradhya, so you've been stopped by an FMSCI guy for a nonsense reason. I understand they stop you for safety, security, but I don't get the language that they speak to you.
Like what?
That guy will probably disrespect you. Hey, ये नहीं चलने वाला है. Where is your this? Boss, we are the one who make the sports, right? You are supposed to be an enabler, not a disabler. Some events have gone because the language that I've spoken, I've not enjoyed the event. I want to raise. That's the reason I am there. You put an SR. I may have got that SR wrong. Maybe I've not got as per what a scrutiny sheet look like. You come and tell me, correct me, encourage me, ensure that whatever you do, help enable me to raise that event. Some are genuinely great, like Vakchor is wherever they are as a scrutineer. I love to be part of that event. Luckily for Maharashtra event, they are the part of it. Like we've got Rahul Sancheti. These are all guys who are so I'll tell you who are the people who are really supportive. Are the ones who've raced in the past. Some jokers that FMSCI has hired, and I want to consciously choose that word jokers, are the ones who've gone, cleared some exams and want to come here and treat themselves as
And they
they're
have
the
no
ones.
experience of.
And believe me,
driving.
organizers does shit. He goes through a lot of shit to make that event happen. Riders are not, unfortunately, not the ones who are making decent money. They somehow make it to the event. So please be an enabler. Least that you can do is talk to them respectfully. That's bare minimum. So if I was an FMSCI guy, I probably want to choose which people is serving FMSCI. You cannot just be showing up in an event, living out of a nice room, demanding for a nice food. You want to call off for an AC. Boss, be an enabler again.
Like
You
what
don't
would
choose your comfort.
What would your selection criteria be for, let's say, FMSCI board of scrutineers?
Look, I mean, while all of those exams that they run currently are important, I would still, if I could, probably have people from the community. And there are just so many of them who would love to contribute more in the ways that they like to by becoming an FMSCI guy. And not just be there because somebody in their family was an FMSCI and they see perks, they're getting paid decently, or at least get their attitude right. And I'll probably have some feedback sheet for them as well. How was your scrutineer? Was the language spoken right? For the riders.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and go back and create forums, a feedback form after the event. Like while there's a feedback for the organizer, there's a feedback for FMSCI guys as well, where they're enabling, where they're soft-spoken, where they're really reasonable, where they're supportive, and everything else is respected. Like I understand your job is so not easy,
Of course.
but please don't take riders or the organizers for granted. See, we're already paying a hefty fee for the license.
Of course.
We're already filling in all those forms that you require us to do. We're already taking heavy medical expenses, which I know is beneficial for the riders themselves. All of this thing is good. But this is not how your FMSCI scrutineer or guys are abroad. And they're all governed by FIM, right?
FIA.
So let's
Yeah.
learn
Yeah.
good things from them. Let's imply those things if you're talking so heavily about yourselves.
Do you think, as FMSCI chief, you could do something to encourage people to increase the sponsorships, or probably do something to encourage OEMs to get into action to sponsor drivers to become, to participate more in motorsports?
Look, that's just not it. That's just bare minimum. If you're sitting as the federation, core part of your responsibility is to encourage sports, bring in more events.
Yeah.
You cannot just be engaging with the ones who's already doing events. Like Sham sir has been doing events for the years that I know. I was a kid. He's a legend himself as a racer. Now that I know him as organizing the Supercross events. And like Rongom, who does Valley Run. Rongom sir apparently has been doing this event for 13 years. These are not the guys who will probably move away from the sport. They are engaged. What are you doing for the new organizers? You got to meet them, talk to them. What challenges are they facing? You gotta go and talk to the manufacturers on behalf of the this. When you talk about, you're saying a Federation of Motorsports of India head. Obviously, a manufacturer would look at you separately versus an organizer who's Jeet Tapaswi based out of Pune trying to do an underground. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot in their capacity. If you're sitting with a team of 70, 80 people, might as well hire 2 such people who are MBA graduate doing great sales job and present you as a great federation in front of multiple manufacturers.
हाँ, and motorsports को और लेके आओ, मतलब get events.
Why
because,
are
yeah.
the manufacturers like Mercedes or Audis are coming to me or going to magazines to do events? Why they're not going to federation?
Yeah.
That should be the filtration channel. That's how this should come. That itself should tell you that federation just cannot be. I don't know if they're just sitting there and doing nothing about it. I'm sure they have a lot in their plate, but identify roles in their own organization. To would probably be a safety head, who's somebody who would be maybe ensuring that who's just taking care of all the complaints that you're getting
Yeah.
from the riders, drivers.
Yeah.
Somebody who would be a sales guy who would reach out to manufacturers, bring in more sponsors for events.
Yeah.
And I think you have all spread of events that's happening. Let the manufacturer decide which he wants to associate with. But why is an organizer reaching out to manufacturer? That's the journey begins. It got to be the top-down, bottom approach is what I think.
FMSCI तो मेरे को लगता भी नहीं है कि कोई इवेंट्स कर रहे हैं. इवेंट्स तो आप कर रहे हो, लक्ष्य कर रहे हैं. Other people like, all of you all are doing in support of FMSCI.
Then I gotta assume that they're happy with whatever money that they're getting out of the events. I mean, rider, every time there's a registration, for my event, that's the reason why I don't want to do it. Where am I seeing any benefited values being added by them?
Yeah.
Like if I do an event, if I do an off-road carnival as well.
Okay.
This is purely for the love of the sport of dirt bikes. You know what this is? I've learned certain people. I've known certain people who are legends in the sport.
हाँ.
I bring them down to that festival, which is an off-road carnival. Get them to stay with us for 2 days.
Okay.
Saturday you check in, Sunday you check out. Come and race with us. Bikes we will provide, kit we will provide. These are the legends that we've learned from. Imagine them bringing them back to on the bike.
And where do you get the bikes from?
Bikes are ours. All these
Acha.
dirt bikes from friends.
Okay.
And many such people showed up in our last event as well. Imagine the new guy who's just started his journey to meet a generation which is me and a generation above me whom we got inspired.
Interesting.
And this is still a dirt bike event, supercross event, or probably events where you're jumping and all of that. It's as critical as any other event, but I do not have federation been engaged into this. If federation comes in, my cost shoots up by 50%. How? Every rider has got to pay fees. My start time and end time is decided by them. My safety protocols is further increased, which I don't think so is even required sometimes. Sometimes they just put implications. I mean, sometimes they put restrictions, which is not even funny. Like you'd laugh at in an event like this. Why would this safety protocols be required? It will increase my cost further.
Yeah.
they will not allow me to have those riders race because they do not have safety gears,
Yeah.
which I'm ensuring they are having. But I am provisioning the safety gears from my side. They won't allow me to share the safety gears. One
Oh.
rider at a time.
They'll not allow you to share.
No, you cannot share. Whenever you show up for an event, you have to have your own safety gears.
Acha ji.
So, like I said, they don't. I don't look at them as enablers.
You know, ironically, Karan Malik, I was talking about verbatim, and I kid you not, Jeet, exactly this was his statement as well. Ki they are not enabling, they are just being like कि नहीं ये allowed नहीं है, नहीं ऐसे नहीं वैसे नहीं.
Somewhere, I think the messaging has gone wrong, and some sort of wrong people that have been hired for that job.
हाँ.
This may be just few jokers I'm telling you, who are inspiring others to say FMACI में होगा तो ऐसा ही चलता है भाई, ऐसा ही करना पड़ेगा. Boss, no, please respect the sport, organizer and the rider. They are the ones who are making the event. That's where you get some money fed back.
Yeah.
So please look up with respect. I understand not all riders are following all safety protocols, but there's a way to address it.
Yeah.
And how much does it take for you to contribute maybe a 5%, 5,000, 10,000 to ensure किसी का कुछ है नहीं तो मैं खुद ही enable करा लूँगा. Charge him later यार.
Yeah.
But why are you not allowing him to race?
I think tons of things we can go on talking about, but long enough session, and thank you so much. And I promise you that I will definitely make it for the next underground that you're planning, which you mentioned, and I really look forward to it. And hats off and kudos to you for what you're doing for the community, Jeet. Seriously, hats off, man.
No pleasure,
talking to you.
Aradhya. Like I said, not many podcasts that exist for a young enthusiast like if I was about 20 years back.
Haan.
And there's so much that a person can learn.
Yeah.
Learn out of this, meet people. Like people would know me, but not know me as much as they would know me through your podcast.
Yeah.
Because it's a free-flowing conversation. A lot of other aspects that people thought may have got addressed through this podcast.
And I think because I met you for the first time today, I think we've just warmed up today.
Correct.
I think now
Correct.
there'll be so many things I'll be able to want to, figure out and talk to you about.
Look, I mean, I also probably have a lot of other people who would probably want to be part of this podcast. Because I
Absolutely.
consume a lot of podcasts and I'm
Yeah.
in love with them. And they can probably make up to a great beginning journey.
Yeah.
So I'll probably also recommend a lot of people from my side who probably should be part of your podcast.
Absolutely.
Because I think already the amount of people that you've had, if I was into motorsports, I'll spend days and days just to go through all of their podcasts to understand all of the people who are doing good in their particular motorsport
Yeah.
arena. So thank you for that, to have thought of this and to
Arey
make this possible as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Means a lot.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Radha.
Thank you.